15 surprising truths only INFJs will understand. Most people go their entire lives without ever being truly understood. They are seen. They are heard. But they are not understood. For INFJs, this feeling doesn't appear later in life. It starts early, quietly, and it never really leaves. As a child, you may have sensed things others didn't. You noticed moods before words. You felt tension before conflict. You understood pain that wasn't spoken. And slowly, you learned something important. Being yourself didn't always translate. So you learned to smile when you didn't feel okay. You learned to listen more than you spoke. You learned to read the room instead of explaining yourself. Because explaining yourself often led to confusion, or dismissal, or silence. If you're an INFJ, this video will feel uncomfortably familiar. Not because it tells you something new, but because it finally puts words to something you've always felt. And if you're not an INFJ, this video will help you understand a mind that is often misunderstood, misread, and quietly overlooked. Today, we're uncovering 15 surprising truths only INFJs will ever fully understand. And stay until the end. Because the final truth explains why INFJs can feel deeply lonely, even when they are loved, even when they are surrounded, even when they are not alone. INFJs are often described as rare, intuitive, empathetic, deep, but these words are just labels. And labels are shallow by nature. The real INFJ experience doesn't show itself loudly. It doesn't demand attention. It doesn't announce its depth. It happens internally, quietly, constantly. It happens in the moments between conversations, in the pauses after someone speaks, in the silence that follows emotional noise. These truths are not personality traits you display. They are inner realities you live with. Every day, every interaction, every decision. This is not about how INFJs appear to the world. This is about how the world feels inside an INFJ. 1. INFJs feel everything, intensely and silently. INFJs do not feel emotions lightly. They don't experience feelings as passing waves. They experience them as deep currents, pulling, layered, overlapping. When something happens, INFJs don't just feel one emotion. They feel several at once. Joy mixed with fear. Love mixed with responsibility. Sadness mixed with understanding. But instead of expressing everything outwardly, INFJs turn inward. They analyze emotions. They name them. They trace where they came from. They ask why they exist. An INFJ doesn't just feel sadness. They ask, why does this sadness exist? What does it mean? What is it trying to tell me? So while others express emotion immediately, INFJs process it internally, often alone. This is why people often describe INFJs as calm, or stable, or unbothered. But calm is not the absence of feeling. It is the presence of control. Inside an INFJ, emotions are alive, active, and intense. They are simply being held. Carefully, quietly, responsibly. 2. INFJs sense emotional shifts instantly. An INFJ can feel when something is wrong before anyone says a word. Before a conversation changes. Before a smile fades. Before tension becomes visible. A shift in tone. A pause that lasts half a second longer. A subtle change in energy. INFJs notice. Not because they are suspicious, but because their mind is tuned to emotional patterns. They sense inconsistencies. They feel when words don't match emotions. They notice when someone says, "I'm fine," but their presence says otherwise. INFJs don't need evidence. They don't need confirmation. They know. This ability is a gift. It allows NFJs to comfort, to support, to understand deeply. But it is also exhausting. Because INFJs don't just notice emotions. They absorb them. They carry feelings that are not theirs. They feel responsibility for emotional atmospheres. They internalize moods they didn't create. And over time, this emotional absorption becomes heavy. 3. INFJs are constantly misunderstood. INFJs think in meanings, symbols, and patterns. Most people think in facts, tasks, and immediacy. This difference creates misunderstanding, not conflict, but distance. When INFJs speak, they often compress complex thoughts into few words. They assume others will feel the meaning behind the message. But most people hear only the surface. INFJs say one thing, but mean 10. They speak emotionally, intuitively, holistically, and when others respond literally, INFJs feel unseen. This is why INFJs often stop explaining themselves. Not because they don't care, but because they've learned that clarity doesn't always lead to understanding. For small talk feels emotionally draining. INFJs don't dislike people. They dislike emptiness. Small talk feels disconnected from meaning. It feels like noise without substance. When conversations stay on the surface, INFJs feel invisible. Not ignored, but unrecognized. They crave depth, truth, authenticity. They want conversations that reveal values, dreams, fears, and purpose. Without that depth, social interaction feels like acting, and acting drains INFJs faster than silence. 5. INFJs are always observing. While others speak, INFJs watch. They read body language. They notice emotional reactions. They sense unspoken dynamics. They observe who interrupts, who listens, who dominates, who withdraws. INFJs gather information quietly. They don't rush to speak. They wait to understand. By the time an INFJ speaks, they already see the full picture. 6. INFJs often feel like outsiders, even among friends. INFJs often feel separate, not superior, not inferior, just different. They don't naturally align with surface-level social norms. They don't enjoy performative interaction. They don't thrive in emotionally shallow spaces. So they adapt. They blend. They soften themselves. But adaptation costs energy. And after too long, INFJs feel disconnected, even when surrounded. 7. INFJs give deeply, then withdraw completely. INFJs give emotionally without limits. They listen deeply. They care fully. They support endlessly. But they rarely ask for the same in return. And eventually, they become depleted. When that happens, INFJs withdraw. Not to punish. Not to manipulate. But to survive. Their disappearance is not rejection. It is repair. 8. INFJs struggle with boundaries. INFJs feel responsible for others' emotions. They feel guilty for saying no. They feel selfish for resting. They feel uneasy prioritizing themselves. So they overextend. Until one day, they don't. And when INFJs finally set boundaries, they are firm, permanent, non-negotiable. 9. INFJs never forget emotional impact. INFJs may forget details, dates, exact words, but they never forget how someone made them feel. They remember safety. They remember pain. They remember sincerity. Emotional memory is permanent. 10. Solitude is essential for INFJs. Alone time is not loneliness. It is medicine. INFJs need silence to reset their nervous system, to organize thoughts, to release absorbed emotions. Without solitude, INFJs lose clarity. 11. INFJs overthink because they see too much. INFJs don't overthink problems. They overperceive possibilities. They see multiple outcomes, multiple emotional consequences, multiple futures. Their mind doesn't stop, because it's always connecting dots. 12. INFJs feel responsible for healing others. INFJs often feel called to help, to guide, to heal, to support, even when it costs them, even when it hurts. They feel purpose in easing pain, sometimes at their own expense. 13. INFJs are emotionally resilient. INFJs endure quietly. They process pain privately. They rebuild internally. They emerge stronger. Without announcing it, their strength is invisible, but unbreakable. 14. INFJs want understanding, not attention. INFJs don't want to be admired. They want to be understood. They don't seek spotlight. They seek connection. They want someone to see their depth, without forcing explanation. 15. INFJs feel loneliest when unseen. INFJs don't fear being alone. They fear being misunderstood. They can sit in silence peacefully, but they struggle when surrounded by people who don't truly see them. That is the quiet loneliness INFJs carry. Not absence, but misalignment. If this video felt personal, if it felt like someone finally put words to your inner world, you are not alone. There are others like you, quietly deep, emotionally aware, intentionally thoughtful. Subscribe for content that understands the INFJ mind, not on the surface, but at its core. And remember, depth is not a weakness. It is a rare form of strength.